Join me today as we count down the top 10 most toxic gases in the world. We'll discuss everything from deadly nerve agents to innocuous-seeming industrial chemicals. You might be shocked to learn just how dangerous some of these substances can be. Just a few breaths of some chemicals are enough to kill you within minutes. 10. Nickel carbonyl. This highly toxic gas is used in nickel refining and purification. It's a clear, colorless liquid with a fairly high vapor pressure, meaning it evaporates easily into a gas. Nickel carbonyl is extremely poisonous if inhaled or absorbed through the skin. Just a few parts per million can cause health issues ranging from headaches and chest pain to convulsions, coma, and even death. Nickel carbonyl is mainly a threat to industrial workers who may be exposed to it on the job. Proper safety protocol and protective equipment can help mitigate this risk. However, any accidental leaks or spills of nickel carbonyl can be catastrophic if not handled properly. 9. Fluorine. At standard temperature and pressure, fluorine is a pale yellow-green gas. It's the most reactive and electronegative element on the periodic table, which makes it incredibly toxic. Fluorine reacts with practically every organic and inorganic substance it comes into contact with, even at low temperatures. Pure fluorine gas can cause severe burns in contact with the skin. Inhaling high concentrations is fatal. It aggressively attacks the eyes, respiratory system, and lungs. Accidental exposure to fluorine requires immediate medical attention to mitigate damage. The effects of fluorine poisoning include sore throat, pulmonary edema, and bleeding. Without swift treatment, death can occur. Due to its high reactivity, fluorine is not found freely in nature. However, it's still used in several industrial applications like etching silicon wafers and producing uranium fuel. 8. Boron trichloride. This colorless gas has a pungent, irritating odor similar to hydrochloric acid. It's a strong Lewis acid used as a reagent for making organic compounds like Diborane. Boron trichloride fumes are corrosive and toxic. Inhalation can irritate the nose, throat, and respiratory tract. High exposure leads to coughing, chest tightness, and shortness of breath. Direct contact with liquid boron trichloride can burn the skin and eyes. If swallowed, it can cause nausea, vomiting, and abdominal pain. Boron trichloride is also a fire hazard. It reacts violently with water to release hydrochloric acid and heat. Proper storage and handling procedures are critical when working with this hazardous gas. Leaks, spills, or uncontrolled releases of boron trichloride pose a major health risk. Only trained personnel should use this chemical while wearing specialized protective gear. 7. Diborane. This colorless, flammable gas has a repulsive, sweet odor. Diborane is used as a rocket propellant, as a precursor for making boron compounds, and in semiconductor manufacturing, but it's also highly toxic if mishandled. Inhalation of Diborane causes headaches, dizziness, nausea, convulsions, and respiratory distress. Contact with skin can lead to blistering. Exposure to high concentrations, even for just a few minutes, can be fatal. Diborane also reacts violently with air, so any leaks pose a major fire and explosion hazard. Special equipment and strict protocols are a must when working with this ultra-hazardous gas. This highly dangerous chemical has been involved in numerous industrial accidents over the years. 6. Arsine. This flammable, colorless gas is used to make electronic semiconductors and pharmaceuticals. But it's also incredibly poisonous if inhaled. Arsine has a slight garlic-like odor, although it can deaden the sense of smell quickly. Exposure to even 100 ppm can cause headaches, dizziness, and vomiting. Higher concentrations attack red blood cells, leading to anemia and kidney damage. Arsine poisoning can be fatal within just a few hours. Symptoms like abdominal pain and dark urine don't show up for several hours after exposure, so anyone who inhales arsine requires immediate medical treatment for the best chance of survival. Needless to say, safety precautions are critical when working around this deadly gas, not something to take lightly. 5. Phosgene. This highly toxic gas gained infamy as a chemical weapon used during World War I. At room temperature, phosgene is a colorless gas with a strong odor like freshly cut hay. It's still used today in very small amounts to make pharmaceuticals, herbicides, and polycarbonate plastics, but any exposure requires extreme caution. Phosgene is corrosive and poisonous. Inhaling high levels causes severe breathing problems, congestion, and fluid buildup in the lungs, leading to death by suffocation. Direct skin contact can cause burns. The odor provides little warning of dangerous concentrations because it quickly deadens the sense of smell. 4. Hydrogen cyanide. This pale blue or colorless liquid evaporates readily to a gas with the strong odor of bitter almonds. However, not everyone can detect the distinctive scent. It's used to make plastics, pesticides, and pharmaceuticals, but hydrogen cyanide is extremely toxic. Inhalation causes headaches, dizziness, convulsions, and loss of consciousness within seconds to minutes. Exposure to high concentrations, even just for a few breaths, can lead to respiratory failure and death. And because not everyone smells it, you may not realize you're being poisoned until it's too late. For this reason, hydrogen cyanide is considered especially hazardous. Strict exposure limits and handling precautions apply to industrial workers to prevent accidental poisoning. 3. Chlorine. Now into the top 3 most toxic gases, we have chlorine. This yellow-green gas is heavily used to disinfect water supplies and make various chemicals. Chlorine has a pungent, irritating odor, but it can quickly deaden the sense of smell even at non-dangerous levels. Exposure to high concentrations causes burning eyes, shortness of breath, chest pain, and coughing as it ravages lung tissue. Very high doses lead to pulmonary edema, respiratory failure, and death. And because chlorine destroys mucous membranes, it can cause a buildup of fluid in the lungs hours after exposure. Chlorine gained notoriety as a chemical weapon during World War I. Today, it's strictly regulated to prevent major industrial accidents. Proper storage, handling, and transportation precautions are critical. 2. Sarin. For our second most toxic gas, we have sarin. This extremely poisonous nerve agent was originally developed as a chemical weapon in Nazi Germany. Sarin is a clear, colorless liquid that evaporates easily into vapor. Even tiny amounts are deadly if inhaled or absorbed through the skin. Sarin works by disrupting chemical signals between nerves and muscles. Exposure leads to contracted pupils, convulsions, paralysis, and respiratory failure. Death can occur within 10 minutes. Treatment must be administered quickly to save lives and prevent permanent neurological damage. 1. Hydrogen sulfide. Finally, the most toxic gas on Earth, hydrogen sulfide. This flammable, colorless gas is produced naturally by volcanic and microbial activity. It's recognizable by its rotten egg odor, although it quickly desensitizes smell at high concentrations. Hydrogen sulfide is used to make industrial chemicals, but it's also incredibly deadly. 10 ppm can irritate the eyes and throat. 100 ppm causes dizziness, headaches, and nausea. Exposure to just 800 ppm for a few minutes leads to respiratory arrest and death. It suffocates by inhibiting cellular respiration. Accidental releases from petrochemical plants, sewers, and manure pits claim hundreds of lives each year. Hydrogen sulfide is the leading cause of sudden work-related deaths in the U.S. For this severe toxicity, hydrogen sulfide more than deserves the notorious title of the most toxic gas on Earth. These chemicals can seem like obscure hazards, but it's good to understand the dangers they pose. Accidental exposure does happen, plus these gases are still widely used in industrial applications. Strict safety precautions are necessary when handling any toxic chemicals to avoid disaster. Let me know in the comments which gases you have heard of before. If you enjoy learning of poisonous and venomous things, like and subscribe for more top toxic topics.